Before listening, ask a doctor if your heart is healthy enough for Dallas Cowboys football.
This is On Air with Dallas Cowboys Star Magazine.
Bringing you behind-the-scenes interviews and features.
Direct from the pages of the Dallas Cowboys official team magazine.
And the X is going up again.
And now, your hosts, Kurt Daniels, Shannon Gross, and Josh Ellis.
Volume 5, Issue 2. It's February 20th, 2017, and this is On Air, the weekly show with Dallas Cowboys Star Magazine. On the cover, welcome to the Hall of Fame, Gerald Wayne Jones. The featured cheerleader? None. None were deserving. Behind this microphone, I am Josh Ellis. Behind that microphone, the Leonardo DiCaprio of Northwest Louisiana, Dallas Cowboys social media impresario Shannon Gross. And behind the other microphone,
look who's back!
The Vern Troyer of South Louisiana,
Hey.
Dallas Cowboys staff writer David Hellman.
Shannon's from Northeast Louisiana, just so you know.
Whatever.
Or it's kind of north central.
Yeah.
They call it northeast. What's up, Dave?
Hey, y'all.
What's up, Kent?
Hey, buddy.
Just like old times, man. We're getting the band back together.
It feels very weird to be doing this
It does.
not at Valley Ranch and not at 6 o'clock at night.
This is awesome.
Really getting into your Thursday night plans or whatever night
Really
it was that we did it.
I think it was Wednesday, my very busy social calendar, yes.
Sure. I'm sure. So we got the gang back together. How long did we do this for? About 6 months until Derek decided you were too big time for us and he was going to put you on like a 5-minute video show
I want to say 8.
where you did a quarter of the talking.
We started in
Training camp, right?
We started in training camp of 2015 and went until...
No, we did it a year.
Yeah, about a year.
Remember we had
yeah,
Mo
and
on
then-
at camp this year.
Yeah, we did it about a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
first
it's a 15-minute internet TV show. Excuse you.
internet TV show.
It's going to be on TV at some point.
So it's not a TV show; it's an internet show.
Whatever. They use TV cameras
They
to
use
film it.
video cameras.
They use TV cameras to film it. Whatever.
Well, I see you've become a big star. You've started wearing product in your hair.
I've worn,
He got it cut. He washes it now.
worn product in my hair as long as you've known me. But
Say porn product in your hair?
no,
Oh.
I regret coming on already.
Well, we're not here just to kick you in the nuts for the entire hour. We're here to talk football.
Not the whole hour. Just
Just
Speaking of, do you have your Tommy John underwear on right now?
not today, but I do own several pairs.
I wore mine for the first time today just for the show.
Nice.
How you feeling?
Feel good. It's got the little, what's the little vent at the top? Is that so you can get your junk out of there without having to pull them down?
Yes. That.
All right, it's
yeah.
been a good show. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, seriously. Yes, that's what that's for, Shannon.
Okay. I just want to make sure I wasn't missing something.
Kent,
This has been a production.
Kent, you know that our saving grace has always been that no one with any measure of power actually listens to
Okay.
the show. So,
I'm not used to that, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. This show.
because Charlotte tunes into Cowboys Break every episode.
Sure.
Yeah.
Tommy John will love the endorsement, though, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll make sure I send the Tyler.
Can back up the pouch or whatever you're referring to.
Yeah.
Does it have a butt flap?
No, but I tell you what, they're very comfy.
I got my first pair today.
Yep.
Large and in charge.
Sure you need that.
Yeah.
Luxury underwear is a thing that I
is.
never
Is it?
knew existed, but like paying more for underwear, it's pretty worth it. I never knew that until I did it. And
Like toilet paper and
Yeah.
in sheets.
Tell you
Yeah.
what, if you're not getting the toilet paper that has aloe in it,
What?
you're a savage. I mean, you're a.
They have that?
I didn't even know they made that.
I didn't either.
I thought I was doing wonders with my 2-ply over here.
Well, you're on
You got a long.
cowboy salary, so I
I'm
understand.
balling on a budget over here.
Yeah, so we're not here just to talk about underwear, toilet paper, and hair gel. We're here to talk about football. We will do that during the Shannon on Top segment, traditionally a football-heavy segment. We'll also talk about running backs in the second segment. And first, we're going to pick the brain of a real football expert here. We brought him in just for this occasion. It is David Hellman. You know him from such epic productions as, what's it called, the 2-minute drill? Cover 4.
Yes, that one.
And the draft show. Him and Broadus and Brian Baldinger, or whoever the other guy is, are breaking down the prospects week in and week out. You've been to Mobile to the Senior Bowl, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to the Combine. When is that?
Next week.
Have you been watching the tape? Are you Tommy John deep in the tape?
Not as much as I should be, but
Hashtag tape.
I'm working on it. I'm easing into the swimming pool that is the draft process.
Who spins it well? What's our new vernacular this year that only the upper echelon of draft gurus could
Good
speak?
punch, bend,
Yeah.
length. Like
Bend
all
is
that.
old. Bend is old.
Well, they're all old. They like football terms have been the same forever. That's what football people do.
Mm-hmm.
They stick to their archaic.
I thought that every year they trotted out some new lingo to make themselves seem, very
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'd have to think about it, but there's always some new metric for how, DVOA and whatever else.
What's that?
Oh, that's like a stats thing.
Yeah, it's
that's
Saber advanced stats.
Jonathan Bales talking there.
Yeah.
It's not Broadus. Broadus.
That's two different communities. You got your stat geeks and your draft geeks. That's the great thing about scouting and tape. There's like a whole, community of people who like do this just because they like it. Like they don't make, amateur draft sleuths basically. And no disrespect, like do whatever you want. That's great. And your opinion's just as valuable as anybody else's on Twitter. But like you don't have to know what you're talking about to do that. You just watch the tape and say what you see. So. I don't know.
It's always been my contention that I could run an NFL team without a scouting department.
You've talked about it a billion times on this very show, actually.
You just read Street and Smiths and pick players from the SEC and go from there. That would be my strategy.
Your team probably wouldn't be the worst in the league
Yeah.
if that was your strategy. It probably wouldn't be the best either, but
Yeah, you don't get all the best players from East Carolina then.
Hey, East Carolina puts out some good players, I think. Dwayne Harris, he's a good player.
Oh, he's
Pretty
Pro Bowler.
pretty good.
Man, game changer. But we're not going to just focus on draft with you, David, even though you are the expert. In the first segment, we will lead off with some talk about free agents to be. Who do you keep, David? Who are your?
Wake up, Dave.
Are you asking me or are you like previewing the segment?
No. That's what I'm asking you. The Cowboys have 53 free agents to be. The whole team, it seems, is
21.
in danger. Oh, thank you for correcting me. That's why you're here.
21.
So 2/5 of the team
Sure.
is in flux,
Mm-hmm.
and if you follow the NFL, you're used to that. That's kind of par for the course. I wouldn't say that the Cowboys have any sort of crisis on their hand with who's due for free agency.
Oh, all right, Shannon. Playing some Motorhead over there?
Kiss.
Ah,
Snapchat.
Close.
He's up with the new stuff.
you're the worst.
You're falling asleep over there with your head on your microphone. I'm so disinterested
Sleep,
to
you
be
just
here.
can't sit up too high in the chair.
The chair is a problem.
All you see is a head.
My height is a problem. So yeah, it's a very astute observation, Josh. The Cowboys have a lot of free agents, but this year's pretty fun in the sense that,
If there was one of them that they lost, then I don't think it changes anybody's projection for their record next year, right?
They
They figure it out.
They don't have any make or break situations with their free agents. But the thing I will say, I think you could be presented with a type of crisis just depending on how you try to handle it. For instance, the big one that everybody talks about, Mo Claiborne and Brandon Carr both are headed for free agency. That's two of your top 4 cornerbacks. Obviously, you can absorb those losses if they both leave, but it puts you in a situation where you either need to sign somebody else or you need to spend a premium draft pick because Orlando Scandrick and Anthony Brown are fine, but you need way more than that to adequately cover that position.
Well, yeah, you definitely need more than 2 cornerbacks. However, I would say that if your starting cornerbacks next year were Anthony Brown and Orlando Scandrick, you're starting 2. I wouldn't feel any worse about those 2 than I would if it was Morris Claiborne and Brandon Carr coming back. I mean, Claiborne, yes, was much better this year, and Carr has been nothing if not consistent, but not spectacular. And so, I think that Scandrick presuming he, another year removed from that torn ACL is a little better next year, although he's getting a bit older and you lose some of that start-stop and the quickness that makes him good. I think that they'd be fine. Anthony Brown and all the playing that he did this year, was not a problem at all.
I agree with everything you said. It just still makes me feel kind of leery to put that much responsibility on a second-year player, and B, I mean, this isn't 1988 anymore. The Cowboys spend most of their time in nickel, if not dime. You need 4 solid cornerbacks to be good at that spot. And if you don't bring either of those guys back, or if you don't bring somebody on, then you gotta, not only do you have to draft somebody, you gotta hit on that pick right away to be covered. And so I really like the idea of bringing one of those guys back, just to kind of cover your bases. Although I will say Mo terrifies me because, he's proven over 5 years that you can't count on him to play 16 games. And Carr, I wrote about this a couple weeks ago. I honestly think he's going to be far more expensive to keep than a lot of people would probably guess. He doesn't get a lot of picks. He's not a Pro Bowl cornerback, but never missing a game and being a reliable starter in the NFL is worth money. And I expect him to make somewhere between $5 and $7 million a year on whatever contract he signs, which is a lot of money.
Well, is it though? In this day and age, it's not a ton. At all.
It's not going to be a bank-breaking contract like the one he signed when he got here, but I think the deal he gets, whether it's here or somewhere else, I think casual fans who don't really pay attention to stuff like that will say, "Whoa, really?" So.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's enough to deter the Cowboys from bringing him back, but it's something to consider.
It may just come down to whichever's cheaper. You may roll the dice that Claiborne can finally stay on the field for a full year, and because I think he probably is the cheaper one because he has that cloud
100%.
hanging over his head.
Who would give Mo Claiborne more than a 2-year deal at this point?
And it might be another 1-year deal, which I think from a team perspective, you always like those because you're not committed to someone for the long term.
It's an interesting question. Would you rather have Mo back on a 1-year? He got 1 year 3 this year, so let's say
1 year 4.
I was 1 year 5.
Yeah.
Would you rather have Mo back on a 1 year 5 or Carr back on a 4-year or 3-year 25 or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. In an ideal world, 3 years from now, Brandon Carr isn't one of your starting cornerbacks, I think.
Sure. But in 2017, I'd rather have Carr just because I know he'll play 16 games. So I don't know, but if Brown and Skandrick is a solid starting point, and if let's say you draft a corner at 28, and based on if you're following the draft, there's going to be a good cornerback available at 28.
You think they go corner or D end first round?
I don't think you can lose either way. I think you need both. But honestly, looking at it, I feel better about the thought of a really good corner being there than a really good pass rusher.
Well, let's wait to talk draft.
Yeah.
Because I want to also bring up the safeties. They have 2.
Yeah, and that's
starting caliber safeties that are free agents, and Brandon Barry Church and J.J. Wilcox, who finally sort of came into his own this year a little bit. Then they also, if they don't keep either one, you got a lot of flashes from Jeff Heath at the end of the year, and if you're going light on that position, there probably is some level of confidence in Jeff Heath.
Like you said, there's not a single free agent on this list that's make or break. He's got to be back or they're screwed. But again, you want to go. Barry Church is a tackle machine. He's consistent. The broken arm that forced him out for a month last year is the first injury he's had since 2012 when he tore his Achilles. So he's a locker room leader. He's a captain. He's not the best safety in the league. He's not even on the short list, but he's a good quality starter. You can absorb that loss, but do you feel good about plugging Jeff Heath into that situation?
I think my preference would be to keep Wilcox. He's 4 years younger than Barry Church, and my gut again tells me he's going to be the cheaper one just because he doesn't have as long of a track record. And when he played this year, he was finally around the ball and not getting burnt in coverage, and he was making the big hits and having a presence over the middle and in the running game that they had hoped he would have. So I think he would be my first choice. But if they both left and Jeff Heath was your starting strong safety, and you plug in some other like relatively cheap or low value kind of guys, I think that you can make it work there.
If they both left, I would hope the Cowboys would try to invest a draft pick of some consequence in the position. But yeah, I don't.
They've just been chasing that position for so long.
Forever.
So basically,
Forever or
since
never.
they had Darren Woodson and Roy Williams, they've never quite had the two of them set in a way that they were very happy with. What about wide receiver? That seems to be the other big point of debate of who do you keep or do you keep anyone? Terrence Williams probably gets the bigger contract, but he's more proven than Bryce Butler.
I can sit here and you can make a case. You could convince me that Barry Church is gone. You could convince me he comes back. Same thing with the corners, all that. I can make a case for why every guy on this team should or shouldn't be here. I do not see a scenario where Terrence Williams hangs around with this team because I think he stands to make the most money. You look at the cap's going to go up. You look at the money that is given out to receivers just like him within the last calendar year. And again, I think his contract is going to make people go, what?
What kind of money do you think he's going to get in the market?
I mean, it was Marvin Jones, who had a better resume than Terrence, got 5 years, $40 million last year. And Mohamed Sanu, I think, got 4 years, $32 million.
And Mohamed Sanu was good for Atlanta. Like, that was a good signing.
And
but
whoever
whoever signs Terrence Williams is going to be disappointed.
Okay,
he's not that good.
I disagree, and here's why. Because Marvin Jones was signed to help replace Calvin Johnson. He's going to help Golden Tate fill the role of being their number one.
I think you mispronounced it.
Who?
Isn't it Golden Taint?
No, it's not. But I hear you. If you're signing Terrence to be a one, I think that's a mistake.
No one's doing that.
But I think, and we talked about this on, I was on the break like last week and we talked about this. I think Terrence Williams could be much better than he is here in a different offense. This is as close to a run first smash mouth offense as you will find in the NFL. You have the Hall of Fame tight end, you have the $70 million receiver, you've got the number 4 overall running back. He's just not a priority. But if you were to send him to a Detroit or a San Diego or a Pittsburgh, I don't know that any of those teams would make an offer for him. But if you put him in one of those pass-happy offenses where he's option number 2 or 3 for a quarterback who flirts with 50 passes per game, I think he could be really good. And honestly, I hope that for him because I think not only can he get better value somewhere else because somebody will be willing to pay him, but he can have a better career somewhere where he's more of a priority than he is here.
He's just a frustrating player.
Sure,
I mean, there is some level of production, but
he's not. He is
jumping for no reason, and the catching with his chest is. I've just seen enough of it from a Cowboys perspective.
I would label him as a solid but inconsistent player. Like that's what I would call him. But I think that somebody will be willing to give him good money to go do that.
There have been plenty of opportunities for him though when Dez was hurt and he didn't really rise.
He's had many opportunities to prove that he's more than what we've seen and he hasn't capitalized on those, which is why maybe, and I know the Cowboys love him, the coaches love to rave about how he's a good blocker and a good teammate and all this stuff, but when you can draft him. Again, he was pick number 77 and he started immediately and contributed immediately. You can find that production for pennies on the dollar in the draft compared to giving him so much money to stay here. I just don't see it.
All right. What about Bryce Butler? Is he worth keeping around?
It
seems like he's
maybe he is just because
got some of the tools, but like just not.
Maybe he is because he won't be expensive. I mean. Bring Bryce back on a really cheap deal to be your number 4 and then draft a new. Like I don't like the idea of just promoting Bryce Butler to number 2 because Terrence Williams is gone. But if you want to keep him around as a role player because he's cheap, that's fine.
Does Lucky have another year? Or is
oh
he
my
up this year?
God,
yes, he does. Have
one more
year because he's an undrafted player.
When I heard I just heard the radio tease that there was a Cowboy who had an incident on a plane last week.
You thought it was Lucky?
I assumed it was Lucky.
It's probably one of the guys you would think that would happen to last.
Oh, yeah. No, that's probably true.
Dave, you need to fix that chair.
Do I look ridiculous?
Maybe Stan.
It's like from here up. That's
I don't care.
All right, you've mentioned the draft a few times. One of the big debates every year is, of course, need or best player available, which is a complete crapshoot,
BPA,
in my opinion. But I do see you on the Twitter talking about, bring on O.J. Howard.
Sure.
Instead of the pass rusher that they need or the
It's
cornerback that they need. Or
It's funny. It's so funny how fluid the draft is, though. I mean, if O.J. Howard was there at 28 and you were wiped out at these other positions,
all right. Fill me in, and people that don't know a lot about the draft. Who's O.J. Howard?
I bet you anybody that's listening to this show at 11 o'clock in the morning
knows.
Like they know who O.J. Howard is. You need to do your homework,
I do.
bucko. O.J. Howard is a senior tight end from Alabama who very underutilized in their offense, but is an athletic freak. He balled out in the national title game 2 years in a row. He's a good combination of like freakish athleticism and, technical skill. He's considered the best tight end in the draft.
think of like Martellus, but faster
Yeah.
and coordinated and not a space cadet.
Okay. That's sure. Like he's the best tight end in the draft, and it is and was an early plot point that the Cowboys are not in a good spot to find a pass rusher. You don't usually find great pass rushers at 28, impact players. So kind of the logic of, would you rather take the 5th best or the 8th best pass rusher because you need one, or get the best tight end in the draft, even though it's not an obvious need right now.
Gotcha.
But having like that was in January, and even in the last month, like I'm sitting here right now before the combine even saying I'd be shocked if O.J. Howard were to fall that far. I think he's probably a top
15,
20 at least.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it worked out that way, I'd still be okay with it. Having said that, the more you look at this, like I said, I hate the idea of, I don't hate it. I'm scared of the idea of drafting a pass rusher at 28 because how many bona fide studs really get found in that range? I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence was 34. Kevin Dodd, Emmanuel Ogbo was okay last year. He was picked like 33 or 33rd.
One of the names that I keep seeing linked to the Cowboys around that area is Carl Lawson from Alabama or from Auburn, who, if you watch the SEC very much, you know that the guy like has some skill, and he was a 5-star recruit, and I think he's had some injuries.
Yeah, he was supposed to be at the Senior Bowl, I think, but he pulled out to rest. Carl Lawson's a guy. Charles Harris from Missouri is a guy. Tack McKinley from UCLA. These are kind of like, your team always gets pinned to like 4 or 5 guys that's who you talk about, and who knows how realistic that really is. But, those are the names that kind of get pinned to them as far as pass rushers go. And then, and that's fine. They need the help. But the other thing, especially, we're talking about Carr and Claiborne. I love this cornerback class from everything I've seen from it. You got the Jones kid out of Washington. You got my guy Trey White out of LSU. I'm totally drawing a blank right now, but
They're an Alabama guy that's in that mix.
Humphrey, he'll probably be gone. Tease Tabor from Florida, and it's not so much it's anybody's guess who's there for the Cowboys, but there's so many of these good quality cornerbacks that I just really like the idea of somebody lasting to 28, which is kind of what happened 2 years ago. If you remember, I think the Eagles picked 20th. And Marcus Peters and Kevin Johnson were off the board, and everybody was convinced that Philly was going to take Byron Jones. And it was this, everybody kind of sweated through that pick, and then Philly passed, and he fell to the Cowboys at 27. I think something like that will happen this year, where a guy with a good, like a first-round grade might fall through just because there's more good cornerbacks than teams that need them.
Imagine if they had Jalen Ramsey, though.
Who do you and Broadus have falling to the Cowboys?
The defensive ends that I listed off just now are the names that kind of keep getting brought back up. Pass rush is the thing that everybody's going to associate with the Cowboys. That's what they need.
Who's the kid from La Tech that I've heard somebody's mock draft had him?
I know who you're talking about, but I'm drawing a blank.
Corner, what?
I'm sorry.
Terry Bradshaw?
Not Terry Bradshaw.
Okay, and finally, for our Cowboys segment, there's the question of whether or not the Cowboys will have an extra pick in this year's draft, first round, mid-round, or otherwise. because they do have a big asset that they have to figure out what to do with, and that is one Tones Rome's father-to-be. Apparently the back's not in too bad a shape.
Wow. Love Josh's asides.
I got another good one, but I can't say it on the air. I'll tell you in the break.
Damn. It must be pretty gnarly if you don't want to say it on the air, because that doesn't stop you very often.
Yeah. Ed Werder reported last week on Twitter that that Tony is expecting to be released, and there are other reports that he is zeroing in on Houston as his landing spot.
Peter King added to that last night or this morning with his Monday column. He basically
the coffee column.
Yeah, he regurgitated several of those same points that Houston makes a lot of sense, Kansas City makes a lot of sense, blah blah blah.
Do you think they're really going to release him, or are they just floating that out there to make somebody pounce and try to give them something to trade?
I mean, anytime you hear something like that, you just know that an agent is involved and he's trying to put his client in the best situation possible. And Tony Romo and his agent would probably prefer that he be released, obviously.
I just wish the situation wasn't complicated by the personal relationship that Jerry and Jason Garrett have with Tony. I think if this was any other player, then they would be doing the decision would definitely come down to what's best for the franchise. But in this situation, I think that they're a little bit compromised by trying to keep him happy.
I see what you're saying, and I don't entirely disagree. But are you saying like they would avoid trading him because they care about his well-being, or whatever you want to call it? Because
I'm saying if it was me and San Francisco offered one pick higher than the Chiefs, then I'm sending him to San Francisco or Cleveland. And I don't give a damn about his feelings. He signed a contract.
I mean, that's a fair point. Honestly, though, here's the thing. I don't think the market for him as far as trades is as popping as you might guess. I mean, San Francisco and Cleveland have to rebuild their organizations from the ground up. Why do they want a 37-year-old?
San Francisco's got $80 million in cap room, and they could do it relatively quickly.
They could also do it. They could make him a great offer after Dallas cuts him and not have to give up a pick that they need to use to rebuild their crappy roster.
But if they wait until Dallas cuts him, then they're not going to get him.
That is true. And that's what it comes down to, is the only reason anybody would trade for Tony Romo is to beat the rush. Like, you're probably
you don't think like Todd Bowles with the Jets, who needs a quarterback desperately, thinks like, if I'm going to get this guy, I've got to trade for him.
And what are you getting in a trade? Like, what kind of pick are you getting?
A pick,
a fifth round?
A pick that will disappoint Cowboys fans.
Like a fourth or fifth rounder?
Like probably a fourth rounder that can escalate to a second if he hits playtime incentives or something like that.
And so what you have to ask yourself then, if you're the Cowboys, because I'm not certain that trading is the best move, because they have to ask themselves, well, what's more valuable to me, a third round pick or having more cap room this year?
And that's
I don't personally, I'm sort of the mind that I'd like to just go ahead and get that cap stuff off the books as soon as possible and not have another $9 million dangling over me in 2018.
I see, yeah, and that's, I mean, and we know that they don't need a boatload of cap room to do what they want to do this year. They're not going to sign Olivier Vernon to a $100 million contract, so yeah, maybe you just take the hit this year and not worry about it. But you can do a lot of good making him a June 1 cut and having that, lessening the cap hit this year and having it still be there next year. But I mean, most teams in the NFL, his cap hit next year would be about $8 million, and most teams in the NFL have like $8 to $12 million in dead money on the books, just as that's just the cost of doing business. So yeah, honestly, you could, unless somebody really wants to overpay me for him, really give me something good in a trade, then I think the most beneficial move for both parties is probably to make him a June 1 cut.
You see what Sam Bradford got, and I know that he at least stays on the field, and there's the big question lingering over Romo.
He has plenty of injuries of his own, though. I mean, he's had a hard time staying on the field in the past.
But the difference between Sam Bradford and a healthy Tony Romo is immeasurable. So I'm tempted to say that second round may be the floor. I think it might be second escalating to a first based on playtime.
Wow.
I think there's a difference there, though. It's so different between losing Teddy Bridgewater 8 days before the season starts and this, when your roster's not in place, you haven't signed anybody, blah, 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 blah. I mean, if the Cowboys wanted to hold on to Tony Romo until September 1st and see what happens, maybe they could pull that off. But you need that leverage of the Vikings were screwed. They were basically, it was do this deal or give up on the 2016 season.
Finally, David.
Without that leverage, I just don't think it's that easy.
When do you expect this to come to a head with Tony? What is your expected time frame?
Before the draft, I don't think it'll happen until the league year starts, because you can't. First of all, you can't finalize trades until the league year starts, so that's a thing. And I don't think you can designate him a June 1 cut until after the league year starts either. I might be wrong about that.
But the league year starts like March.
Yeah, no,
6th.
It starts in 2 weeks. So any time in the next 6 weeks, I think. But I think it will be. I think they have to make a decision sooner rather than later. I don't think you want this still hanging over your team like when they start to report for off-season conditioning and stuff, which is like early mid-April. So
is there any chance that he gets traded during the draft? You package him with something and try to move up. Is there any?
If he's going to get traded, that would be,
I think it's possible.
As possible of a time as any time.
Yes, there is a possibility that happens, but I think maybe I'm just speaking for myself. I think they should just get it out of the way.
Yeah, just go ahead and get it over with.
Done.
Lastly, before we go to break, I want to say that a lot of people are like, well, Romo's he's not that good of a commodity because the team's going to have to take on his contract. Well, not exactly, because they're not taking on the guaranteed money.
Right.
They're taking on the base salary, and the $19 million or whatever that team would take on is less than Tony would get on the open market. It's less than Peyton Manning got a couple of years ago. 4 years ago.
I really want to see, and I assume he's going to be cut. That's just what I'm guessing. Maybe I'm wrong. I really want to see the deal that he would get. I want to know what it looks like. Is it, 1 year with a team option for a second for like $35 million? I don't even know what.
I think you look at what Denver gave Peyton Manning, and I think it works out to be just like that. I think it was like 4 years for.
I can't imagine
$80 million.
I can't imagine anybody wanting to sign him to a 4-year deal. But
you know how they
with options and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a painful time for Cowboys fans, I assume, because of how long you've been watching him play quarterback and all of that. But it's going to be fascinating as well.
All right, when we come back, we're talking running backs.
With unlimited data from AT&T, you can stream your favorite DirecTV content almost anywhere. Side effects may include sports-induced public celebration, increased desire to share spoilers, and repeated late-night use of the phrase,
just one more episode.
The unlimited effect. Get unlimited data when you switch to AT&T Wireless and have DirecTV.
After 22 gigabytes of data usage, AT&T may slow speeds. Must have eligible TV service. If you're not eligible, AT&T will move you to a new plan and overage charges may apply. Plan will include Stream Saver. Other restrictions apply. See store for plan details.
Hey, Cowboys fans. Did you know that over the next few years, more than 1 million service members will transition from military to civilian life? Veterans face unique challenges when they get out of the military, and Bank of America and the Dallas Cowboys are teaming up to help with financial education, career opportunities, and support of military nonprofits and organizations locally in North Texas and across the country. We're proud to support our troops and are deeply grateful for the dedication and sacrifice of our service members and veterans. Bank of America, official bank of the Dallas Cowboys, invites you to join us in our efforts to get involved by tagging game day photos on social media using #TroopThanks, that's #TroopThanks, and by learning more about our commitment to veterans at bankofamerica.com/military support. Together, we can thank our troops in ways that make a real difference.
Copyright 2016, Bank of America Corporation.
I went to my first Cowboy football game at the Cotton Bowl when I was 10 years old. I've been a Cowboy fan ever since, in the Super Bowl years and the not-so-good ones. Teamwork is what makes winners. At the law office of Domingo Garcia, we play as a team to win your case. If you have been hurt in a car or truck accident, injured on the job, call the law office of Domingo Garcia and join our winning team. With offices in Dallas, Houston, Austin, Odessa, and Tyler, we can help you in Texas. Call 214-941-8300. 214-941-8300.
Back Dallas Cowboys Star Magazine.
I don't really have any new copy points about Dallas Cowboys Star Magazine, but I do know that the final issue, the historic final issue, will be available in March. So you better go ahead and subscribe now. Visit DallasCowboys.com/star. You can also buy single issues there for just $3.99. I think Shannon has something he wants to tell you about.
Dave, pick a number between 1 and 4.
3.
3. Tommy John's best pair you'll ever wear, or its free guarantee, may sound like a bold statement, but once you experience their mind-blowing underwear for yourself, you'll understand why. Plus, shop exclusive Cowboys underwear at TommyJohn.com/Cowboys for 20% off your first order. TommyJohn.com/Cowboys.
Cowboys. All right, we are running way late, so I'm going to hurry up and get right into it. Darren McFadden made some news.
You don't have to hurry because I don't have anything for my segment.
Darren, I'm leaving you plenty of time. Darren McFadden made some news this week.
What news is that, Josh?
The weekend, he talked to SiriusXM NFL Radio, which is trash. He said, I kind of get the feel that they wouldn't mind keeping me, the Cowboys, he means. I was raised in Arkansas. I live here now. I set up my home here in Texas. He goes to my Walmart, you know.
I've heard.
Soon to be your Walmart now that you've moved.
Oh, yeah. That's what we'll get into here in Shannon on Top.
He says, I'm a Cowboys fan regardless of whether they decide to bring me back or not. McFadden is a free agent, but he says, I still feel fresh. I don't get a lot of wear and tear on my body from the season. I only played in the last 3 regular season games and the playoff games. I feel like I have a lot that I can offer any team as far as being out there and a guy that can carry the load. He's lost it. I don't feel like I've lost a step at all. I feel like that any team that wants to take a shot at me, and I don't think it'd be a bad deal for them. Odd syntax there, but anyway.
Go, Darren.
I don't think that any team is going to sign him to carry the load, per se.
No.
But he could be back here. What do you think about that? That would probably mean that they ditch Alfred Morris, right?
I'm going to say it's Darren McFadden is not under contract and Alfred Morris is, but I wouldn't be surprised if McFadden is the one that's playing here in 2017.
Bring him back.
Because you could basically, how much could you save from cutting Alfred Morris? Like 1.5?
Yeah.
That's probably enough to sign Darren McFadden.
Yeah, they signed him to, I think it was 1.5 when they signed him. I got to assume his value has gone down since then.
Now, the reason that I bring this up is not to debate whether or not to re-sign my good friend Darren McFadden. It is to hold you accountable for your laissez-faire attitude over the dismissal of Darius Jackson mid-season.
Laissez-faire?
Yeah, you're like, oh well.
I've been critical.
Oh well, it was a bad move, but oh well.
I've been critical of it this whole time. What do you want me to do? What
you haven't. I've been monitoring you.
I was on the break, I was on the draft show last week on Thursday, because running back is not a concern, but running back is a sneaky need for this team because you've got Zeke and nada. You got Alfred Morris, who you relegated to the bench, and nothing else. And it would be so phenomenal if they had a young, talented guy that they drafted to
who looked awesome in the preseason. I don't know what they saw between the preseason and when they cut him to make them say this guy is not worth having around for the cheapest salary that there can be.
It's our fault. We had him on the show. We got him fired.
They kept him on the roster for 11 weeks despite him never suiting up, never contributing to a win. And I mean, the 53, not the practice squad. They liked him enough to pay him active money to do jack. And then they were like, well, sorry, you got to go. And
then 2 days later, Chaz Green has to have season-ending shoulder surgery, and they would have had the roster spot anyway.
I mean, to some degree, I am like, oh, well, because, no use crying over spilled milk. What do you want me to do? But I thought it was stupid then, and I think it's extra stupid now, because you probably have to do the same thing. You either have to, I think, a late-round pick, or at the very least, you need to make a big-time offer to a priority free agent a la Thomas Rawls a couple years ago.
But it's a late-round pick who you then have to teach how to walk, which you basically did with Darius Jackson for almost an entire season. And, that guy might not be ready to go in week 1. If Ezekiel Elliott has a high ankle sprain in training camp, then for the first few weeks of the season, you might be rolling out some 5th-round rookie running back.
I think it was stupid. And you get, and that's the thing, you get hung up on this and you're still talking about it 4 months later. and people are like, oh, overreact much? Like, you think Darius Jackson's going to be a Hall of Famer? No, I don't think he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He might not ever be anything more than just an average NFL running back, but you spent the resources on a guy that you liked a lot.
And you kept him.
And you committed to it, and then you were just like, oh, never mind.
It's not like the issue that I have with it is not because I think that this guy is going to be Walter Payton. It's just the thought process that went into how they handled it. That I think it
was very wishy-washy. Like, they had this deliberate plan. They spent a 6th-round pick on a guy that they thought they could get in free agency because they didn't want to have to bid for him. They're just like, he won't want to come here because we just drafted Zeke, but we'll get him anyway. They bring him in. They groom him all through training camp. He was a stud in college, by the way. He was like the only good player on a 1-win team, I think. Kicked LSU's butt. They played Eastern Michigan his senior year. And then, like I said, he was in sweats for every game of the year up until when he got cut, and then he
goes on waivers and he gets claimed by the very first team that has a waiver.
Honestly, I just said, I don't think he's Walter Payton, but I hope he goes on to kick some ass. Like, I hope he's good for the Browns so that the Cowboys can see the error of their ways.
This was the question that I had about it is,
good question.
Forgot.
Great question.
Come back to me. Shannon, fill time.
They had a dynamite. They did a really good job of planning in advance. They spent this pick, they did all this stuff, and then they just abandoned it. And now they're right back in the same spot because whether it's Alfred Morris, whether it's Darren McFadden, you're going to have Zeke. You're going to have a veteran closer to the end of his career than the beginning, and then you need to do something about the rest of that.
So I think they'd be in better shape if they're top 2 for next year were Zeke and Darius Jackson than Zeke and Alfred Morris or Darren McFadden. Mm-hmm. But my question was, like, since the reasoning for doing what they did seems so illogical, could there have been anything behind the scenes that we don't know about? Is this a guy that was tough to deal with or missing meetings or anything like that? Do you have any reason to believe that?
No, I mean, we're not best friends, but I knew and interacted with Darius Jackson. He came on this show. Mm-hmm. He's a mild-mannered, nice dude.
Seems like a really good locker room guy.
Yeah. I do know the debate about what to do with that roster spot was like a long and hard one, and I know that a lot of people in this building were pissed when he got claimed. But
immediately too by the Browns.
Yeah.
Like the first team that could have claimed him.
You gotta, I don't know. And my memory's fuzzy, but was it for Randy that they did this?
I thought it was for McFadden.
Maybe it was. Yeah.
No, they deactivated Morris for McFadden, didn't they?
No, because they had to bring McFadden back to the roster. They didn't kick Morris off the roster.
I feel like it was maybe one of those D linemen. Was it Ryan Davis or?
I think it was either McFadden or Randy Gregory. Sorry, and
that would have really been worth it.
I think it was McFadden because it happened earlier. Like, Gregory didn't come back till basically Christmas. Either way. Yeah, and Chaz Green.
Like, there's not some 7th linebacker that you could cut that's not going to be in the plans for this year, where you could see all along, like, this guy should be in the plans for 2017. He should be your number 2 running back.
It was McFadden, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, speaking of running backs, one other report out there. You've probably heard it. I'm sure Adam Schefter, who blocked me on Twitter, so I had to hear it secondhand.
Adrian?
Stirred this up that the Cowboys could be in the market as a landing spot for Adrian Peterson. I think a couple of years ago we talked about this quite a bit.
Ad nauseum.
Yep, and then Rob almost got fired on his first day back for writing about it.
That's true, too.
Peterson, it looks likely to be cut by the Vikings in some sort of salary cap saving deal.
Far be it from me to accuse anyone of trying to stir up controversy for clicks, but that just seems like, 1, posturing because the Cowboys get people's attention, and 2, like, dot connecting because he's from he's from the North Texas, East Texas area, blah blah blah. But I don't see it. Why would he want to come to a place where he's not going to be the bell cow? I mean, he's probably a Hall of Famer. He's been the best running back in the league for the majority of his career. I assume, feels like he's got a lot left in the tank because he hasn't played that much over the last 2 years. Why would he want to immediately relegate himself to an also-ran for this team? Also, even if he gets cut and agrees to take substantially less money than he's making right now, he could still make more money somewhere other than here.
And I got to think that, the lowest deal that you could possibly sign him to is like $6-7 million a year,
which is like double Zeke's salary.
Yeah, like that's as you think about how the Cowboys should think about spending their assets. Backup running back is not the spot.
And wouldn't that create kind of the elephant in the room that we have now with Romo and Dak? Do you think?
No, because there's more touches to go around. But
how many touches did Alfred Morris and McFadden get in the game? 5?
The thought of Adrian Peterson willingly signing up for 4 to 8 touches a game is stupid to me. And then if you give him more touches than Zeke, then why'd you spend this top 5 draft pick? It just doesn't really make sense to me. If he was closer to what Darren McFadden is, like just kind of
hanging on,
riding off into the sunset of his career, but I first of all, I think he's got more in the tank than that, and I know he thinks he does, so I don't know why he would sign up for that. It's fun to speculate about, I guess, but I think they should do the same thing all over again, which is keep one of these veterans for cheap and then spend inexpensive assets in the draft, whether it's like a 6th or 7th round pick or a priority free agent. You could they don't have a 5th round pick right now, but I would spend a 5th round pick on a running back.
The moral of the story being that running backs are not that hard to find.
Yeah, you're the one that always said, you can find a Lance Dunbar in every draft. You can find
every college has 8 Lance Dunbars,
and you can.
I hope he's not coming back. Right? You're not going to mess around with that.
I wouldn't think so, but maybe. I don't know. I know he is again. It's funny, like the Cowboys love their guys so much that I wouldn't be surprised by anything. Like if they opt not to bring him back, I think it would be a front office decision more than a coaching decision because the coaches love him.
All right, up next is Shannon on top.
To work this big land, you need equipment with values rooted as deep in Texas soil as you are. Like John Deere compact tractors with a 6-year powertrain warranty and big features that help you work less so you have more time to do what you love. John Deere was first in the Texas fields, and we're proud to be on the field as the official ag and turf equipment of the Dallas Cowboys. Find Texas-sized deals at myjohndere.com/football. Terms, conditions, exclusions, and warranty limitations apply. See dealer for details.
With unlimited data from AT&T, you can stream your favorite DirecTV content almost anywhere. Side effects may include sports-induced public celebration, increased desire to share spoilers, and repeated late-night use of the phrase,
just one more episode.
The unlimited effect. Get unlimited data when you switch to AT&T Wireless and have DirecTV.
After 22 gigabytes of data usage, AT&T makes slow speeds. Must have eligible TV service. If you're not eligible, AT&T will move you to a new plan and overage charges may apply. Plan will include Stream Saver. Other restrictions apply. See store for plan details.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with sideline access and photo ops with current players, Cowboy legends, cheerleaders, and me, Brian Broaddus. Want to stay at the team hotel? With Star Sports Tours, you can. And our outstanding ticket selection is unmatched. You can trust the official travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and with us, you'll travel like a pro. Visit starsportstours.com to book your travel packages today.
Ice Cold Dr. Pepper and the Dallas Cowboys go way back. They belong together like Texas and football, silver and blue, shotgun formations and Hail Marys. Having a Cowboys football party without Dr. Pepper is like Thanksgiving without the Cowboys. Basically, we wouldn't recommend it. So, next time you have a tailgate, home gate, or whatever else kind of gate, grab some ice cold Dr. Pepper to make your Cowboys party one of a kind. Dr. Pepper, a Dallas Cowboys tradition.
Back to On Air with Dallas Cowboys Star Magazine.
Welcome back. All right, here I am kicking the ball to Shannon, who I assume has nothing, but we'll interview our old friend here or something.
It's good to know some things never change.
Let's get to know Dave a little bit since you hadn't been. How long has it been since you've been on the show, Dave?
When training camp ended. So
how are you?
August, September-ish, because we started Cover 4 like week 2 or 3 of the season.
You should come back more often. You should do like a bi-monthly appearance.
People like and this sound like I'm patting myself on the back. Like, people ask me why I'm not on more shows, and honestly,
I don't like it, do you?
And I like doing the shows, but I like the freedom of not having to do it. Like, during the season, the break people and the talking people, it's every day for an hour. That's like 10% of your day every day, and I'd rather just be free to tweet and stare off into space and other stuff like that.
Are you open to come every once in?
No comment. Every once in a while, like.
Will you be our designated fill-in?
Yeah.
No, because
look, he won't commit.
This show has a fill-in every freaking week between the three of y'all.
By the way, I'm going to be in Hawaii in a couple weeks. I'll be on March 6th.
I'm off the table until like after. Like mid-March at the earliest.
Why? You got some plans?
Well, I am going to be out of town for 2 weeks, but also
Screw
I just
you guys.
don't want.
I'm going home.
I also just don't want to do it. But yeah, no, I'm.
From time to time, though, you'll.
Yeah, sure. I'm going home on vacation this week.
Yeah, what are you going home for, Dave?
Mardi Gras.
What are you going to do? Drink a lot of beer?
Drink a lot of beer.
Eat a lot of crawfish?
Crawfish, seafood, king cake, fried chicken, all that awful stuff.
I haven't had any You flying or driving?
Flying. I actually got invited to a crawfish boil here in the Dallas area on Friday night, and it was amazing.
So are you and Taylor hooking up or what?
Wow.
No,
that was really.
Why not?
No.
You guys would be such a cute couple.
I will leave this podcast studio so fast.
We're out of time. We got to get to what everybody's asking. They're asking on Twitter.
No, they're not.
Why not?
Shannon, rescue me, please.
What crawfish? This has been a production.
Where was this crawfish bowl at?
Just somebody's house. It was a friend's coworker's daughter she went to LSU.
Okay.
She had a crawfish boil for her birthday.
So Dave finally bit the bullet, and everybody that is working here now in Frisco has had to make a decision. A lot of people were living in the uptown or downtown area of Dallas. A lot of the young single professionals
Poor,
yeah, definitely poor.
Emphasis on poor.
So a lot of us were living in that area. Some of us still are. Josh is in that area. So everyone's kind of having to make a decision. Do you want to pay $8 a day in tolls and get stuck in 30 to an hour and 15 minute, 30 minute to an hour and 15 minute traffic a day, or do you just want to move to the burbs and move to Frisco? So Dave committed to burb life last week.
I bit the bullet.
How is it so far? How was it this weekend? Did you go out up here?
I went out with Claudia, our former webmaster.
Oh, so it's Claudia.
Okay.
Not Taylor.
Claudia and I went out for celebratory moving beers on Saturday in my new neighborhood, which is pretty dope. I mean, I can walk to a lot of cool stuff.
Did you day drink or was it at night?
No, dude. This weekend was a nightmare. Like, the moving company moved all of our big stuff on Thursday morning and got all that out of the way, but like, I still had to, you're like, okay, there's a few knickknacks left that I'll go pick up myself.
Oh, it never works out like that.
Yeah,
it's like 8 trips.
It turns into like 4 car trips,
Yeah.
and then you gotta like clean the old apartment and make it look like you're not a caveman.
Mm-hmm.
And who's are you still living with Reiner Saban?
Yes, Reiner Saban, the Cowboys writer, who, no.
Who are you living with?
I would rather not talk about my living arrangements on the air.
If it's still who it used to be, then I think that's a juicy story.
No, no. I hate you so much.
Why?
Was it daytime or nighttime? Nighttime.
No, we went out. We didn't. No, because I was doing moving crap until like 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
He lives with Josh Brent.
Yes, our scouting intern and former player Josh Brent. Pretty solid little arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I'm just exhausted, and my apartment is full of boxes and stuff that's not where it's supposed to be.
Hadn't unpacked yet?
I mean, I'm in the process of it, but
But the nightlife was decent?
Yeah, it's cool.
I'm gonna come crash on the couch one night.
I can walk.
Go to Sambuca. and you get you a Coug, all right?
It's 250 feet from my apartment, so I'll have to look into that.
You don't have to drag her back very far.
That sounds bad. Don't say that.
She dragged you back, and I tell you, like Shannon would be the perfect tag along in that
Honestly,
place.
Shannon belongs up here more than I do.
I know.
Like, you fit the eight. Like, I mean, there are some young professionals here, but a lot of...
You say it like that.
A lot of mid-30s, mid-40s, and, you know...
Divorcees.
Divorcees.
People looking... Yeah, you would be fine up here.
Do well up here?
Swap.
Maybe I'll...
do some swapping.
Swapping what? Phone numbers?
Yeah.
Handshakes.
What about you, Josh? You're still in uptown, and you work up in this area now.
Yeah, that drive sucks.
Yeah, you thinking about moving or?
F that.
Well, I made the opposite move of Dave because my workplace is also near the Star here. So I had a really short commute, and then I decided, as Dave will, that interesting as all those divorcees are.
Not a big enough.
That's not the market that I want to dabble in.
This is interesting though. So you've done both for a significant period of time. What's worse? Like, because for me, in a perfect world, I'd much rather socialize and have my life be down in Dallas.
Well, you know what?
I can't do that 45 minutes and $8 a day stuff anymore.
I make a lot more than you do, though.
That's a great point.
Including $60 each episode of this show.
He can pay his toll bill for the week just by doing this. That's why he does it.
Yep. You know what? For me, when I lived up here, not a lot of people that I knew lived up here. And so that's going to be an issue that won't be as big of an issue for you, as probably a lot of your coworkers and friends are making this move up here. And you have your roommate and Josh Brent that you'll have, built in somebody to occupy your time with.
That's a fair point.
Kent, where do you live?
I live in Denton, sir.
Oh, okay.
Got a house up in Denton.
How long does it take you to get to work?
It's like 30 minutes on average.
It's
not bad.
Talk to
Business 121 round.
Yeah, pretty much right at that intersection there.
Talk to 25
35
people that work here, and you'll get 25 different answers about where they live. It's crazy.
I used to live in Fort Worth, but when we moved to Frisco, I moved further north up to Denton. So
Denton,
I'm kind of parallel to Frisco.
Plano.
Aren't there going to be
Dallas.
some apartments in the Star?
Not in the Star, but
I think in this land around us,
they're building it,
developing all that out
around us.
Do the Cowboys own it?
I think Ross Perot owns that land, doesn't he?
I don't know, but
I heard that Ross Perot.
If the Cowboys were smart, they would they'd build an apartment complex around here and give cheap rent to employees.
This commercial cracks.
One, employees would stay longer, and two, people would come from far and wide to get to hang out with the likes of David Hellman and
they're going to get to do
Roxanne
that
Medina
at the Concrete Cowboy that they're building out front.
All the celebs.
Yeah. I'm going to spend a lot of time there for sure.
I know you will. They're in Chipotle.
Wearing your shiny shirt.
Not a Chipotle fan.
No?
No.
Really?
I prefer Freebirds.
Do you really?
Or for anybody out there that's familiar with Izzo's, that's where it's really at.
Is that a Louisiana joint?
No, but they have it in Louisiana, but it's like a chain, but they just don't
I've never heard of it.
It's awesome.
This was great.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
We'll
thanks,
see you
Dave.
again
Next week.
Thanks for producing, Kent.
Again, to get the final issues of Dallas Cowboys Star magazine, visit dallascowboys.com/star. That's it for now. Thanks to Mr. Kent for running the ship.
What?
Now, Mr. Kent, you can go to lunch.
Yay.
Thanks to Mr. Kent for pushing the big button.
Yep.
I love you, Mr. Kent.
Thank you.
For David Hellman and Shannon Gross, I'm Josh Ellis, thanking you bigly for sticking with us on air for another week. We'll be in your ear again in 7 days or thereabouts.
This has been a production of Dallas Cowboys Star Magazine, DallasCowboys.com, and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club. To subscribe to Dallas Cowboys Star Magazine, call 1-877-632-2697.